What an incredible conversation I just had with my new friend, Rebekah Black. Iron Forum members, also a daughter of Bill Black, uh, someone that's been on the podcast that I know many of you have enjoyed this episode. But Rebekah and I get into Jambos and her nonprofit and the way that she serves the community of foster care throughout, that's been around the world, but now focused here in Georgia. I am so excited for you to hear about exploding on TikTok to serving 16,000 students within a very short time period. It's just some amazing stories of God's faithfulness and how he chooses to use us when we go to him open-handed. Here's my friend, Rebekah.
Welcome to Belief Builders. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I sit down with individuals who have found strength, direction, and purpose through their faith. We'll look at the moments that tested their beliefs, the experiences that strengthened them, and the wisdom they've gained along the way. Join us as we build our faith one conversation at a time.
Welcome, everybody, to Belief Builders. I'm your host, Matthew Eford, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with my new friend, Rebekah Black. She is a friend of the podcast. Her dad, Bill Black, was also on the podcast, which many of you have thoroughly enjoyed his episode. And I'm so excited to have Rebekah on. A connection through Bill, but also a connection through Iron Forums. Iron Forums for Women here in the Georgia area, the Atlanta area, is exploding, connecting women, getting them out of isolation, just like in the men's groups. And so, Rebekah, for those who may not know you, come on, introduce yourself. Yeah. And I'd love to hear, like, what is your faith journey look like? How did you come to faith?
All right, great. Well, this is really exciting. Thank you. I love when my dad and I played this little triangle of, hey, do you know my friend? Do you know my friend? You know?
Yeah,
so this is really sweet. Those are big shoes to fill. So please post my episode before his. I'm just kidding. But I'm really grateful for the chance to be a part. Iron Forums has done great things, and I'm really excited that the women's group and now we're all kind of meshing and doing our thing. So I'm Rebekah Black. I'm the founder here at Jambos. We're a nonprofit that brings comfort to kids in foster care by providing them with brand new pajamas. But before all of that, I am a mom to 3 daughters. I have a college student, which is so weird because I'm also only 20 years old, so I'm not really sure how this happened.
There you go.
But we just moved her in at North Georgia up in Dahlonega.
Wow.
And then I have 2 a high school and a middle school daughter. So we have a lot of feelings at my house. It's a good time. But we're rocking and rolling, and they've been a part of building Jambos with me kind of from the jump. So does that kind of give you enough context for who I am, what I do? I love baseball.
I love that so much. Well, Hannah and I have all boys, and so we're on the other side. We get
cool.
some big feelings, but we get lots of energy, lots of pre-testosterone that we're seeing in our young boys, which is very fun. Okay,
I tell a funny story about our families. Our families went on vacation together. My brother has 3 boys, and I had 3 girls. And they came down to the pool with a hot dog in their hand, like jumping in. And my girls like sat down and tried the lotion. And I'm like, our worlds are so different, bro.
Very different.
So yeah.
Very,
so I'm
different.
excited to hop in. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's talk about all the things. I'm ready.
I love it. Okay, so tell me, before you start Jambos, what is your faith journey like? So like, how did you come to faith in Jesus Christ? I love to kind of get that introductory story. To tell us how that started.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in eastern Kentucky, outside of Lexington, little tiny town called Moorhead, Kentucky. My parents were very instrumental, putting us in the VBS and going to church on Sundays and Wednesdays and that sort of thing. From a really young age, maybe 4th, 5th grade, that's when I really started to get a faith kind of my own.
Yeah.
That's been my goal with my girls, is that, yes, I'm going to lead them, but they will get their faith and their roots, but their roots will have been established early. And that's what my parents did for me. So I was a young girl going to church, wanted to be at the VBS, wanted to be at the Bible study, did the youth groups, did the mission trips. And when I was 5th grade, I accepted, Jesus as my bestie and did the whole got baptized thing. And then it wasn't until high school that I really felt connected enough to the Lord to hear him when he whispers.
Yeah,
and I really don't need him to shout at me. I can hear him, like he's my friend. And so it was like junior year, I was in high school and we had gone on a mission trip as a family. And that's when I really started to understand that there's a call in my life, that I'm, in the world, not of it, having understanding of, what he's actually called me to be. And so as the story goes, I come home from the mission trip in Jamaica, which sounds a whole lot more attractive than it really was.
Yeah,
You tell people you went on a mission trip to Jamaica, and they're like, "Oh yeah, was it really bad? Did you, drink sodas from a coconut?"
that's right.
But we were in the back, in the rural areas of Kingston and Montego Bay, and really got a feeling for serving people, what that looks like as worship, what we're called to be hands and feet. Like, I came home and was like, I'm going to be a missionary.
Wow.
My parents are like, oh, great. Like, where did this come from? Again, growing up in a smaller town with, small church, I didn't really see outside of like my Sunday school teachers. I really didn't see a lot of women in a strong leadership role, but forward facing leadership stage presence. Didn't see a lot of that. So I kind of felt like a anomaly. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to be a pastor, but I was like, I'm going to be a spiritual leader. I'm ready.
Sure.
So there was some kind of wiggle. How does that work? What does that look like? And so I just kind of took it by the horns. My parents embraced it. They watered it, and it started to grow. And so that's kind of where we get to college. And I went to a Christian college up in Indiana, and
Okay.
my adult years, I spent I would say a little bit. I spent pretty far from the Lord in my 20s. There's this little thing called the Holy Spirit, this little thing in the back of my mind forever that was like, don't forget what I called you to.
Yeah.
I'm right here. Don't forget, the reason you feel disconnected from me is most likely because you took a step backwards. And like, hey, Rebekah, I'm here. And it wasn't until my late 20s, early 30s that I really had a lock eye moment with the Lord that was like, okay, you called me to something. Hi, me again. Did you mean that? Was it really that I was going to do ministry with my life?
Yeah.
And that's when Jambos came about. As the Lord just started pouring favor over this idea and this calling to serve kids in foster care and to go, neck deep in it. So now here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's take it just a couple of stages. I've been on mission trips like that myself, and I came home and said very similar things to my parents of like, hey, I've got to go and do like there's so much need out in the world. And it's amazing to see how the Lord refined that. So it sounds like in your life as well, right? That it wasn't that he was just calling me overseas, which is not that he's not, but that he was calling me to be more proactive in my faith every day. And he put up more of a burden on my heart of there are people that are right next door to me, that are in my classes at the time, that are in my community at the time, that are in my apartment in college, that are in my, small condos association when I got out of college. Like all of these people, they're going to die and go to hell if they don't know Jesus Christ. And I love that you had a little bit of that similar story. But I grew up in a small town church too. And it's so funny to see how the Lord uses those experiences where it felt like, and I've shared this on the podcast before, it's like, okay, I got saved. Now I get kind of re-engaged in my faith. I get on fire for the Lord. Now what do? I guess I go into ministry.
Correct.
And it's this perspective of, no, we're actually all called into ministry, right? All of us are. Yep. Ephesians is really clear about that we're the work of the pastors, the leaders, the teachers, the elders in the church is to equip the saints, you and I, for the work of ministry, not to do the work of ministry, that we're all called into this joint ministry together. Okay, so you start Jambos. Tell us that story, because it explodes, right? Okay. And I want to get into some of the details of it. I know that, part of our podcast, we talk about business, and I do actually want to touch on that just a little bit, just because it's so fascinating. But tell me, where did this idea come from? You kind of re-engage with the Lord. You're in your 30s, and this bursts. Okay, so tell me what that looks like.
So we'll touch a little gamut of things here to yap about. I was in corporate-ish world, selling cell phones to anybody and everybody that could have a cell phone. If you had a pulse, I was selling you a cell phone.
Yeah,
I was 21 years old, making six figures. I had the shoes, had the car, had the bag, had it all. Loved my little career. I was just so successful, but I was so empty inside. And there was that again, that gnawing, that feeling. The Holy Spirit's like, hey, remember, hey girl, remember. And so through a series of events, I end up leaving kind of the corporate setting and going to work on staff at a mega church in the Atlanta area. And at that time, that church was the fastest growing church, one of the fastest growing churches in the country. And I had no idea why in the world I was there.
Sure.
And I had a little bit of that, like, I don't want to be a pastor. Thanks for hiring me. Like, sure, but like, I don't want to marry, bury, baptize you. That's really all the ministry that I
Sure.
thought, right? I was small minded about it. But through like just that journey, I started realizing, like, hey, similar to what you're saying, ministry isn't just standing behind a pulpit. Ministry isn't just reading scripture at people like this. We're getting wrist deep with people in the trenches. So I really got an understanding, and I had the opportunity to go to Kenya, Africa.
Okay.
Now, put a pin in that for just a second. When I was a young girl, my mom loved giving us pajamas for Christmas.
Yeah,
And so it was, she took pictures one Christmas and we were all in like this raggedy taggedy, like old t-shirts and stuff. And she was like, everyone will have nice pajamas moving forward.
Never again.
So
Never
again will everyone look awful on Christmas morning. Okay. So that was kind of her thing, is like, all right, let's get, and she like affectionately called our pajamas Jambos. So when we were kids, she would say like, all right, go put on your Jambos, get ready for bed. And that was just common language in my house. Okay. At one point, I overheard my parents kind of dreaming the idea of opening a like boutique or a line of pajamas.
Wow.
So they talked about, and this was, your parents are in the kitchen leaning up against the cabinet and just yapping. Yeah. They're not really going to do this, but they were like, that would be so cool. And that's where I got to see my dad in kind of a business mindset more. And I got to see my mom kind of dream and give her gifting. And I was like, because my mom would stay at home with us and I didn't see her kind of in a corporate setting, but it was cool to see, hey, wait, they're a team here. Yeah. So there's the other element. Okay. Yeah. Then I had gone to Jamaica and I had noticed that kids in the infant rescue center, or the orphanage, if you will, didn't have resources. And it's like kind of all clicking for me. It's like, oh, well, they need things. What do they need? Kids in foster care, kids in orphan care. That was poured over me. That call just never went away. So I end up getting asked to lead a group of 9 college girls to go to Africa. Wow. And I'm like, I'm not equipped to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
had you ever been, just to clarify, had you ever been to Africa?
No. And I always wanted to go, but like, I'm a single mom. Like, I don't just have the extra funds to make a trip to Kenya. That's not on my to-do. And so they came to me like, no, we need kind of a last minute leader. Can you go? And I'm like, sure. So I end up going. And while I'm there, I'm like, Lord, I know that there's a stirring in me to leave my position. I don't know how to do that. I'm a single mom. I don't know what I will do next. If that's of you and it's not just my fear, my imposter or whatever, like might confirm that.
Yeah, sure.
And then also whatever you have next, please just make it very clear. And through conversations with friends and on that trip, I just kind of opened up and was in prayer. And the Lord made it very clear, you're going to go back to Georgia and you're going to quit your job and you're going to do what I called you to. And you're going to serve kids in the foster care space in your community. I was like, okay, like I'll do it. And I say that like it was that easy. I kicked and screamed the whole way. Obedience was not my, I'm a middle child.
All do.
Like, right. I'm like, here is someone else, Lord, send them. Like, don't call me.
Yeah, I can even help equip them. Yeah, don't worry. Our help support them. Yeah, our pray for them. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And I'm like, no, I'm not real sure I want to do that. But I knew, like, Rebekah, that's what I'm calling you to. Wow. And so I came home from that trip and I literally had $12. I had no money. And I went into my boss's office and I was like, this sounds crazy. I don't have a plan. I don't have an agenda. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I know that God's calling me out of this role and into serving our community in the foster care space. And the gentleman, I just adore him, but he looked at me like, have you lost your mind? Like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to go to DFACS. I know I'm going to have to do a little research. I had no plan. No plan.
Wow.
But I had peace because I was being obedient.
Yeah.
And I mean, even family members, like my family members were like, girl, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. And so I left that meeting and went immediately to DFACS, the Department of Family and Child Services in Gwinnett County. And I asked them, what do you need? Because I can't foster. I'm a single mom, barely keeping food in my own kids' mouths. Like, I can't do that right now. What can I do was the heart. How can I help? How can we be a part? And they kept saying over and over again, kids in foster care need pajamas.
Wow.
So it was like this, like, ding, 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 ding. Like, oh, my mom and dad were dreaming that pajama thing. And then I saw kids in foster care or orphan care that didn't have pajamas. And then here it all just choo, choo, choo. So I started right there with what I had. It was literally nothing. I borrowed Rubbermaid bins from my mom. I had a small group of women that I went, every Wednesday, and we had our meeting.
Sure.
And I said, "Hey, can we collect pajamas for kids in foster care?" And they're like, "Sure." And those 9 women collected over 200 pairs of pajamas.
Wow.
And I was like,
It's amazing.
"Oh, this is gonna work." I was like, "Okay." And then from there, I just started treating it like it was God breathed, and it was always a thing. Called it Jambos, Jambo in Swahili, which is the language in Kenya, means hello or welcome. Yeah. My mom called our pajamas Jambos. I had friends making flyers, people donating Rubbermaid bins. I was like, "Come to my living room and roll pajamas with us." It became a thing. And what was the goal initially was to serve 843 kids in Gwinnett County in year one. Year one, we served 5,500 kids.
It's amazing.
I know.
That is amazing.
I'm like, that is not 1 ounce of my doing.
Yeah.
That was me. Literally, all that I did was, okay, I'll try it. And that was just the Lord making it work.
Yeah.
So, as time goes by, it kept growing, and it was in my living room. And then it was, and we moved into a Sunday school room at a local church. And then we have a warehouse, and that's where I am right now. And it's, we have 7,000 square feet, 20,000 kids are getting served annually inside of this building, outside of this building. And we've got 3,000 volunteers, and we've served 100,000 kids in foster care across the globe. And that's all amazing. Right.
Well, the thing, Rebekah, I love about it is you're correctly pointing the due respect to the Lord, because He's the one that created this for you. He's the one that gave you this vision. But I love the open-handed, that analogy is used a lot, right? That instead of saying, "I'm going to create the solution, I'm going to go out in the marketplace or into this nonprofit, and I have a desire to do X, and I'm going to go make it work." Instead, you said, the Lord's calling me to serve in this community, and I don't have a clue what to do. So instead of me trying to tell them what they need, instead I'm going to go, why don't I go to the people that are already working in this and just see how I can support them?
Right.
That's amazing.
Let's get something out of the way. Every time I tried to make it about Rebekah Black getting rich, or Rebekah Black making a brand for Rebekah Black, or anytime I tried, because I'm human, okay, I'm not going to get it all together. I thought, okay, well, I'll just make the pajama company and I'll get rich, and we'll just donate 10% each month to no. That's where I learned how the Lord would show me that I'm outside of His will. Yeah. It's because anytime something that's naturally very easy to me became very hard, that's when I knew He was closing doors. He's like, "Nope, that's not what I asked you to do. I did not ask you to make pajamas. I did not ask you to get rich. Like, don't forget, I'm asking you to serve kids in foster care. So go do that." And so I remember I went to a fashion designer down in Buckhead, and I walked into her office, and she didn't speak an ounce of English. Not one word of English. And I walk in, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm just here to talk to you about manufacturing and creating pajamas." And she was like, "I can't understand anything you're saying." I was like, "Okay, Lord, I got it. I won't do that. I got it. Like, fine.
Okay, Lord, I understand.
Pajamas."
Okay.
Yeah, I was like literally cannot communicate with this woman at all. I was like, "Okay, I got you, Lord. We'll start collecting pajamas through donation sites, and we'll distribute them to kids across the globe." So that's what we started doing.
Okay, so let's go back to the first year. You have a goal of 800. You said 862.
Yeah, 843. 843 kids.
Okay. Where did that number come from, if you don't mind me asking? And then talk me through that first year of.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I mean, it was what is that 6x, 7x, 7 times more than what you'd initially planned is what you ended up serving that first year, which is amazing when God does that.
That's crazy. Right.
Crazy.
Right.
So let's talk about the first.
So here's what I've learned about when you are starting a nonprofit, or you're starting to serve people in general. Okay. You got to know what they actually need, which means you have to get nose to nose with their atmosphere. Yeah. Like, I got to go into DFACS and lock eyes with these. Most of them are women in the DFACS social work world. Yeah, I got to, these ladies in this room with me are giving me all the details. Tell me how many kids there are. That's where the 843 kids, that's where that number came from. It was 843 in our region, which was one county at the time. And then what do they need? What are they getting that they don't need? Like, keep it simple, stupid. Like, let's make this very simple. And I just got very pointed. We're doing brand new, any size pajamas. And the brand new is very important because we want the kids we're serving to have that integrity piece. It's very important that they're, this is nobody's sleeping these are mine,
Yeah.
And so that those conversations and really taking the time to understand the resource burden for the people that you're serving. What am I giving you? Okay, if I give you something that might be, they don't have a bag to put it in. They don't have a place to sit it down.
Sure.
Like, let's make sure that the thing we're giving is not a burden and it actually is blessing them.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that first year was learning, like, is what we're doing helpful? We give you this tub of pajamas. Where do you put that, defects worker? Is it going under your desk in your trunk? Do you have a book bag to put it in? Like, that type of stuff was like imperative. Like, I had to learn that. I was not familiar with foster care at all. I had one friend who fostered and I barely knew her.
Yeah.
And so getting my, hands wet in it and learning, that's what a lot of people fail to do. And oftentimes our friends in the foster community, they'll get a trash bag of old clothes that someone kindly donates, but like, they don't have time to go through that.
Yeah.
They're working cases up to their eyeballs and like that. Okay. So now I have enough information to be dangerous when I'm talking on things like this, when I'm going into preschools and asking them to collect pajamas, when I'm going and standing on stages in churches and saying, here's what I'm doing. Does your women's group want to be a part of it? And that I didn't have to know everything. I just had to know a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Write that down. You ain't got to know everything. Just know enough, to get started. I mean, don't stop yourself there, but to get started, just know enough to engage people and invite them in.
Yeah. Don't get stuck in paralysis by analysis.
Correct. Because you will.
Yeah.
So that first year I had quit my job at the church. I had no income coming in. So, and I'm a single mom. I was living with my parents at the time, with my kids, which thank God for them. And I ended up having 5 part-time jobs.
Wow.
So I couldn't in good mind and heart, like, go get another corporate job. Why don't I just stay where I was? Sure. Like this doesn't make right. So I was watching people's kids. I was going to and working at a gym. I sold home inspections. I worked in the Chick-fil-A drive-through. I mean, I wrote marketing content for websites, like the things I was doing, just trying to be obedient to get this thing built was wild. And then in my free time, I'm building the website on GoDaddy. I'm trying to make a flyer for the VBS. That was Canva, what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And this was kind of before Canva really took off. So it was like, I didn't have the templated, like I'm not your girl for that. So I was like trying, so that was year 1. And I was inviting anybody and everybody because that's what I'm called to. I'm going to tell anybody and everybody that they can be a part of this. They can choose if they don't want to be a part of it. But ad nauseum, I will invite anybody and everybody. And that's what I did. Started making t-shirts, started selling those. Jambos had like no money. I was terrified to ask for a dime. I wouldn't ask anybody for a dime. I was so scared. And then COVID hit.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did COVID hit in the calendar year of your first year?
No. The first 2 years, I guess it was 18 and 19. Okay. Those 2 years we served 11,000 kids in 2 years. So 6,000 the second year, 5,000 the first year. And it just was being operated out of my living room. I ended up going to work for a real estate marketing guy. And he let all of us go when the pandemic hit. And I was back to square one, single mom, no job, a global pandemic, this call on my life. Like, I joke that the Lord had to use a global pandemic to get me to ask people for money. I'm like, sorry guys, but I needed a little shove. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. Literally had to shut the whole world down to get Rebekah Black to do what he called her to. But sounds about right, actually. So
you go from 800 children that you want to serve to 5,000 the first year. Is that you're just working hundreds of hours a week, which is not possible? Yes. I mean, you get additional volunteers. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So again, I had asked all of my friends. I was very active in my church, very active in my gym community. People were coming to, like, my parents would go out of town for the weekend and I would invite people over to come roll
Yeah,
pajamas.
cool.
Like, it's not like I'm partying while my parents are out of town. I'm having people come volunteer in the house. And that happened just a few times. And then I started finding we could do it at the school where they collected the jammies, or we could do it at the
Cool.
church or wherever. So yeah, but I had to get very creative. And it was, I felt like I was working 100 hours a day. My girls say 25/8. I was
That's
working
right.
all the time, just trying to get into rooms with people with influence, have conversations with churches and schools, because they're very great about collecting the product,
Sure.
and just really creating a brand that's reputable and trustworthy and making an impact. And so sharing that stuff, and I'm not administrative, but I'm over here like keeping post-it notes of impacts, and I'm
Wow.
like, we served 90 kids today.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
I had to do that stuff. And, this is a true testament of, like, you hear those like cliche, like, he doesn't call the equip, he equips the
Equips the
call.
call.
You've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
that. Yeah. Let me tell you, I am here to be the poster child for that. I'm not an entrepreneur. I had no idea how to make a board, no idea how to make a budget, no idea none of that. He created all of that, and I just kept opening the door. Okay,
love it.
unlock the door. Here we are.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot, and that's what I've learned about entrepreneurship. Is every single day you bump into something new.
Yeah. You certainly do.
I didn't know.
So
Yeah, I
so
didn't
so
know.
talk me through like some of the logistics. You get donations, and you say wrapping parties, like you're rolling
Yeah.
them up, you're wrapping them up. What does that look
Yeah.
like? So what is
So
what some of the back end logistics look like?
yeah. So our donation sites are happening in the community: schools, churches, gyms, ballet schools, whatever. They collect the jammies, and then they bring them to our warehouse and drop them in the warehouse. We count them. We sort them all down by gender and size. So
Okay.
we collect preemie all the way to men's 2X,
Nice.
because 30% of kids in foster care are over the age of 13. And
Wow. Hold on. Hold on.
right?
Say that again, just so everybody hears
Yeah.
that. Say that again.
Yeah. So about 30% of kids in foster care are over the age of 13.
Wow.
And often the baby pajamas, the dinosaurs, the unicorns, the little bears, those are all really cute and fun to buy. But we're inundated with those. And the biggest request is for teenagers. And they're the last ones we receive, but they're the first ones that go out. And so we made an entire initiative around dropping that stat. Can somebody please love on the teenagers? So we collect the jammies, preemie all the way to teenager, adult sizes, and then we invite volunteers to come in our warehouse. We have about 2,500, 2,800 volunteers that come in and annually and help us roll them down. That's what's behind me right here.
Yeah.
I can show you, actually. They help us roll them down, and they attach this little Bible verse to every
Nice.
piece.
Yeah, I love that.
And it just reminds the kids, like, you're not alone. We affectionately say, like, we're going to show kids Jesus. It's just going to be through pajamas.
Yeah.
And so we attach the Bible verse, and then we have more volunteers that come in and help us pack them into kits. And we have boxes that go out to DFACs, private foster agencies,
Okay.
Clothing closets all over, has been all over the nation.
Wow.
And the globe now. So we've served all 50 states and 18 countries.
Okay, so you go 5,000 students the first year. You go 6,000
Yes.
students the next year. Then COVID hits.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
a lot has happened since COVID. So talk us through
Right.
COVID, and then as you exploded, I know you've got
Yeah.
a pretty crazy story there. So let's kind of
Yeah.
get into that part of the story.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, again, constantly learning, we learned that kids were getting, for lack of better words, trapped in the foster care system.
Okay.
Their parents aren't able to report to court to regain custody of them, because court was closed, and they had to navigate. How are we doing virtual court? How are we doing virtual visits? How
Sure.
are we? Maybe there's like a drug court program that
Sure.
that a bio parent is having to work. None of that was. It was like, stand still. So kids were getting trapped in the system. And I actually spoke with a guy the other day who said that he did a hour Zoom call visitation with a 9-month-old baby and the mom. He was like, that was so awkward. And like, those are the things that we're like learning, right? So we realized kids in foster care, they're at home in quarantine as well. So why don't we create a program called Jambos to Home? And it gives foster parents a chance to go on our website and order pajamas, and they would get shipped directly to the child's house
Okay.
that they were staying in. oftentimes kids in foster care don't receive mail and so it was like a special little
Sure.
sweet thing
Yeah,
that
sure.
allowed them to get a package, like, yay, you got mail. And so we created this little system, and during the first year and a half of it, we served 125 families.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
And that felt like a success to us. Like, we're like, hey, we, shipped
Sure.
out 125 families pajamas. So goes the story. One of those families that we shipped some pajamas to happens to be a TikTok influencer. She had posted that she had received a child kind of in the middle of the morning. And she was like, I usually have bigger kids in my home. This is a baby. I don't really have anything. So we sent her pajamas. And 6 months later, she opened up the box on TikTok. And that's when it all happened. So she opens the box 6 months later. We sent it to her in July. I guess it was December. So 6, 7 months later, she opens the box and she's like, and this organization gives pajamas to kids in foster care. Well, she's famous all over foster care TikTok. And she has like 1 million followers. And between December the 6th and the end of January, we had served 16,000 kids because we had we had 4,000 families ask us for pajamas.
Unbelievable.
We had 400 agencies across the globe. It was not just the US. There were United Kingdom, I think Venezuela, Canada, like it was crazy. Here they come. And we had to spread those 400 agencies out until honestly, the beginning of this year. Wow. Because we could not get it.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Fast enough. But pajamas, that created momentum in our community. We're like, we went viral on TikTok. Churches are sending us money and pajamas, and pajamas were coming in faster as they were going out. It was like labels are getting printed. It was insane. But that from that moment, everything that felt familiar in our processes didn't feel familiar anymore. People talk about wanting to go viral on TikTok or go viral on the internet, and it's an exciting time. And I could talk about it for days, but you didn't budget line for $70,000 of shipping and supplies and, volunteer hospitality and rubber bands and all it's like, oh my gosh, this was a $70,000 bath we just took. Yeah. But we served 16,000 kids in 7 weeks, 8 weeks.
Amazing.
And it was incredible. It was incredible. So we're all still catching our breath, and it's been 2 years. These bags are not designer. That's what I always say. But that created a ton of momentum for awareness of foster care, opportunity to share what God's doing here, ways to give pajamas, giving the pajamas. It just created so much for the mission. So, yeah.
So what does it look like now? So there's been some more structure put in place. There's been more volunteers put in place. You've got a 7,000 square foot warehouse now. But how is the day to day? What are you looking at over the next calendar year? How many students are you gonna serve?
Yeah. So because of the disruption in going viral, this is the part that is not so sexy, I guess is the way to say it. It's like your entire operation, like someone dropped a grenade.
Yeah.
And boom, it's like a hole. And you're going to spend some time, and there's 3 of us on staff. If there were more of us, maybe it would go faster, but you're going to spend some time damage controlling. Sure. You're looking around, there's pieces everywhere. You're like, holy crap, how do we clean this up, but also still operate, but then also still implement new ways, right? A big discovery that we found was that a lot of people that were donating pajamas from outside of our community wanted their community being served. So let's say Billings, Montana sent us 50 pairs of pajamas. They wanted to know that those pajamas were going back to their community.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So there's a little niche there. We're like, okay, Jambos could work inside of its own communities, all over the US.
Yeah, sure.
But I can't teach you how to do that because my systems got blown up 8 months ago. And so we brought everything for 2025. We brought everything back to our home state. And that's not natural for me because I like grand slams. I like big snowballs running down hills. I don't want to slow down. We're not. But if we're going to get better, stronger, deeper, we're going to have to take a second. And that's still, I can tell it's still very hard for me to even say.
Sure.
So this year we brought everything back to the home state of Georgia because at our core, we're sharing Jesus with people. Relationships are important to us. And if we're not doing either one of those, we're just a glorified distribution center.
Yeah.
And we have to know our DFACs. We need to know our private agencies. We need to know. And so when we're sending pajamas to Albuquerque and Brooklyn, I don't know these people.
Sure.
We don't know your systems. We don't know, So we've got some systems now. We've got platforms. We're figuring out ways that we can scale this and hopefully start putting Jambos kind of throughout communities across.
Sure.
Starting with the southeast part of the U.S.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a wise decision to make, a very hard one, right? Leadership, it calls us to make those difficult decisions because you see it as somebody who's seeing the growth, seeing the opportunity, seeing God's blessing on it. It's like, well, we should just keep going in this. And to feel like, no, we're going to actually kind of pull this back to get really focused, like you said, go deep. Build better structure so that way this is not just a flash in the pan. 5 years from now it's gone. No, we're so much stronger in 5 years that we're going to minimize to maximize. We're going to bring things back to the core, reestablish them, and then now we can continue to scale better and effectively and go from there. So in Georgia, tell me what is your outlook look in 2025? Obviously you scaled way back. But what? Tell us just for people to know, because we got a lot of folks in Georgia that listen to this. What does that look like?
Yeah, so there are approximately 12,000 kids in the system in our state here, in our home state, which is a lot of kids. That we have already served 6,000 kids this year, maybe a little more. And then the second half of the year, especially with the holidays, we'll push and we'll serve the remaining 6,000. We have really, really engaged deeply with DHS and DFACs. Okay. We want to know their pressures. We have a lot of times people will say, oh, well, you should also donate bicycles. Or why don't you guys do pacifiers? And those are all great ideas for someone else. In this season, we're sticking to the one SKU, but we have thousands of people who are bought into this mission. And now we're starting to mobilize our people to support the foster community.
Nice.
So where we aren't going to be bringing in another SKU anytime in the nearest future, 6 months to a year, I don't know what comes after that. But what we are going to do is start mobilizing our volunteers. The first thing out of everybody's mouth when they come in this warehouse, when they're done volunteering, they go, okay, what else do you need? Every time, never fails. Okay, how else can we help? All right, well, DFACS is having a party for kids in foster care back to school, and they need 100 volunteers. Can you volunteer for that? We took 20 people to DFACS and practice 800 backpacks just to get them ready for they don't have time for this. We've got people who love the mission, who love kids in care, who want to be a village. Let's mobilize them. So we've really leaned into that.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing for the remainder of the year is how are we serving deeper? It's not just a widespread distribution center.
And again, you're continuing to kind of build the playbook for when the next Jambos comes online. That it's okay. Correct. This is when we go to a new state or a new region. Here's what we do. Here's kind of our playbook, and it's not just go viral on TikTok because that's not a growth mentality. That's not an actual good business long-term structure. Okay, so as we kind of come to the end of our time, Rebekah, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing to serve our community. Thank you for the way that you're following after the Lord and you're encouraging other people to do that. People hear this, they say, my goodness, I want to get involved. I didn't realize there's 12,000 students in the foster care system in Georgia. That's not nationwide, that's in Georgia. Correct. Okay. How do they get involved with your organization? How do they get involved with their local foster community? How do they get involved?
Yeah. So for me and Jambos, the very first thing that before you get the emotional pull is like, because we can all, that feels good, let's help. My ask as the founder of this is that you just pray around your heart being tender for kids in foster care. Because I believe when your heart is tender for something, it starts beating for it. And when you start beating for it, you start taking action. And that's your first step. I'm passionate about this, so get tender around it. If this is the thing that you're like, you know what, the Lord's really creating a heartbeat in me for this. Now there are 3 ways with Jambos that you can be a part. When I started Jambos with nothing, I wanted people with nothing to be able to do good. I wanted people who are like, I can't write you a $5,000 check every month for what? No, but what can I do?
Sure.
And so we've created ways that any family all of your kids can come and volunteer. So you can volunteer with us in our warehouse if you're local. And your kids can come. We've had toddlers all the way to, I had a 97-year-old woman in here one day volunteering with us. So come in. We have our calendar on our website. We'll show you ways you can be a part. And that's both with inventory, but then also if we have events or partnership opportunities there. The second is host a donation drive. The Christmas season is coming up. I know that sounds crazy because this is August, but here comes the holidays. And that's a huge time to really use your influence to like rally your sphere. Maybe it's your neighborhood. Maybe it's your school classroom. You're the PTA president. I don't know. You're the CEO of your company. Can you get your people on board with this mission? Invite them to donate jammies. That's also on our website. And then the dollars thing, none of this happens without money. And it's not the sexy thing that you just walk around asking people for money, right? Yeah, sure. But we have something called the Comfy Club, and you and your family can donate as little as $10 a month, and that serves one kid in care. And I can do $10 a month as a single mom. Got it. I want anybody and everybody to have the chance to give back. And so maybe it is dollars. Maybe my parents, I think as my parents say, there are senders and there are doers. Yeah. And for a while, my parents were doing, baking the cookies for the bake sale, sending us to Jamaica, going, chaperoning, doing all things. And now maybe they're in a season where they're more sending. How can we, fund this for someone? Sure. So take a look at that side of your life and say, hey, maybe I'm a sender right now. I can donate a couple $100. And that really makes a huge difference. So I love that. Those are the ways.
And just one more piece to clarify, you said you had an event later this month. I know we're doing this podcast early August, and it's going to come out on the 12th. And so what's coming later this month?
Yes. So the 26th of August, we are hosting our 4th annual Putting for Pajamas golf tournament. It's at the Chateau Alon's Legends course, which is the private course. We have a couple really great opportunities with some former professional athletes out there. We're raising money to further our mission and make it all possible. But yeah, that's the 26th. I'm looking for whole sponsors still. I have until the 18th. Until the 18th. Okay. And then also I only have 8 or 9 foursomes left. But we're looking for people to play and people to pet. That's fantastic. So that's how we get jammies to kiddos.
I love it.
Yeah, come and join us. It'll be so fun.
I love it so much. Yeah. Well, Rebekah, again, thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the way that you're sharing and how open you were. I'll make sure we have all the contact information there on the website. Is there anything specific? Please don't give our cell phone number. But if somebody wants to talk more about getting involved, maybe on a little bit deeper level, how do they get connected to you? Is it through the website? Is there an email address? Is it social media? How do they get connected?
Yeah. Our social media handles on all platforms. We're shell-shocked by TikTok, so don't go on there. But Instagram, Facebook, you can follow us at Jambos Donates. Our info, you can do contact us through our website. And then my Instagram is Rebekah Black 101. So if you want to be friends with me, come on. The more, the merrier.
I love it. Well, Rebekah, thank you. Thank you again for the work that you're doing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Belief Builders. We'll see you soon.
We're so glad you could join us on this episode of Belief Builders. We hope today's discussion has strengthened your spirit and encouraged you in your own journey of faith. Be sure to follow along for more uplifting stories. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share this podcast with friends and family. Let us know in the comments if there's someone whose faith journey you would love to hear. We're always eager to share more stories that inspire and uplift. Until next time, keep building a faith that guides your decisions.